Hi everyone. Sorry about that. Something went wrong. Our other congregations weren't able to stream either. So we think it's sorted now. We hope it's sorted now, but we're going to keep on going. So as far as I can tell, the stream cut off after the Bible reading, just after I prayed. So we're actually going to start again. So big thanks to everyone here in the room who heard a little bit of the beginning of this sermon. So thanks you guys for that, but we're going to jump back on in. So if you closed your Bible, forgotten where we are, we're in Luke chapter 23. And of course, we're doing our Names of Jesus thing alongside this passage too. But anyway, it's kind of awkward, don't know what to do. There's something about December, right? This is where we were. There's something about December that feels light and refreshing. Maybe not December this year so much, but generally speaking, there's something about December that's light and refreshing. It's busy and it's a chaotic time, absolutely, because there's so many things going on. But there's a mood, right, to the December time. It's a mood of celebration. Celebration seems to be a little part of just about everything that we do as we come to this time of the year. Maybe that's a cultural thing in Australia, Christmas as a time of joy, or Christmas as a time of giving. Or maybe it's just paired with the fact that it's the end of the year, right? It's not just Christmas time, it's the end of the year as well. We've come to the finish of something. That we've survived something, another year of life, another year of work, another year of study. There's a mood in the air. It's that mood of celebration, because whatever it is that we're up to in our lives, the feeling is that we've achieved something, right? That we've kind of passed something. It's work that winds down for the year. Maybe you've even got like forced shutdown and leave right now. It's school that goes on summer break. For example, your classes are over, exams are finished, there's no more assignments to submit. Oh, I forgot to say this earlier. Certainly if you've just graduated, if you just finished the HSC or something, shout out to you guys, good job. Hope you feel okay about what you achieved. People are on leave, families get together, they go on holidays, there's barbecues and end-of-year parties and all sorts of things. It's the order of the day. That's December. There's a peace, right? A celebration, a joy that comes from the end of something, and especially if that something was long and difficult. We come to the end of something long and difficult, we celebrate. Good times are had, good company is gathered. But of course, there's a problem with it. The problem is that it ends. Leave finishes and school restarts and normal life comes back. And the fun of the people and the things that we get up to, well, those things go back to normal too. Some of the things that we do, some of the people that we see, we only actually ever see them once a year, at December, in Christmas or New Year's. It's a season of peace, the Christmas season. But the way that we experience life on this world, it's exactly that. It's just a season. It's not our normal everyday life. And perhaps that represents something frustrating, something sad. This reality that peace is actually really elusive. Peace is hard to get, difficult to find. So we come to a question here as we talk about Christmas and the Prince of Peace. What is the peace of Christmas really? Does it actually last? Is it so good and worthwhile? What does it mean that Jesus is called the Prince of Peace? What does it mean for us to celebrate that? Well, as we've worked through these names in Isaiah, we've kind of done like a little bit of a grammatical thing here. We've tried to understand what these names are made up of. And here it's the same thing. There's a bit of a formula, a construction. It's the Prince of Peace. It's pointing us to something. That Jesus isn't just like a peace doer. He's not just a peaceful person. He's the Prince of it, the Prince of Peace. And so at the very least, that's a reference to his greatness in peace. That somehow his capacity for peace is of this royal level, this royal rank. This construction, it reminds me of some of the things that you come across. For me, it was this anime that I've watched called The Prince of Tennis. It's all about this genius kid tennis player who's on this quest, right, to take over the tennis world. He's in school or something, and his dream is to become number one, something. It's not a bad anime. If you're bored, you should check it out. But this was the premise. The premise was this. His ability to win, his ability for tennis, his ability to overcome whatever tennis barrier he faced, his ability to beat that was just, through the roof. He had something that others didn't. And with every challenge he faced, with every match that he's played, his capacity for tennis grew. His capacity for it overcame. Similarly, you might know, this is more of a historical example, you might know the name from Christian history, the name Charles Spurgeon. He's a guy dubbed the Prince of Preachers, the Prince of Preachers. He's often held up as this pinnacle, this exemplar of rich and profound and deep preaching that is at the same time personally effective as a proclamation of the gospel. He was gifted at preaching. He was 16 when he preached his first sermon. It was just 6 months or so after he became a Christian and was baptized. And he went on to have this incredible and influential ministry right up until his death at the age of 57. It's 41 years preaching the gospel. Can you kind of see this idea, the prince of something, of the princeliness of that thing? Is this idea that they're at the top, the pinnacle of their field. And it's an idea where it's more than just their ability, right? It's this title, it makes a suggestion as well. A suggestion that their capacity for their thing is so innate that it's out of this world, it's otherworldly, it's beyond earthly. It's a suggestion that this thing is something that they were born for and born to do. So Jesus is the Prince of Peace. At the most basic level, it means he's really good at it, but it is more than that. His capacity for it is otherworldly. It's beyond normal human measure. And indeed, as we think about it, it means his activity for peace is something that he was born to do. I think actually that's just suggested, it's hinted at, highlighted a little bit in this Isaiah 9 passage. This Isaiah 9 passage with these names of Jesus, it's about Jesus who is this king, this ruler who will save and change the world. It's all about this king that they're waiting for, but yet here he's called a prince. Not the king of peace, but not the king of peace, but a prince of peace. And I think it's just a hint, a little highlight on the idea of inheritance. A suggestion that Jesus inherits on himself all the things that are embodied in peace, that he's the peace that we're all waiting for. Jesus is the Prince of Peace. So what is that really about? Why is he receiving such a full and expectant name? Well, we're going to consider three things. The first thing is his way of life. Jesus is the Prince of Peace because he was peaceful. Peace was the nature of his person. And if you think about his life, if you track through the Gospels, that's been demonstrative. It's been shown through everything that he does. When crowds gathered, and they gathered with such enthusiasm that there was no room to move, nowhere to get through, he didn't shove people or yell or get frustrated. He didn't tell people about his personal space and, just do like a little 1.5 meter sort of arm thing. No, he simply kept walking, and teaching and going with them, healing them and addressing them. When children ran up to him, excited to see him, and when they were scolded for doing that, what did he do? He told them to stop scolding them, and he called the children in so that he could appreciate their presence. When he was challenged and tested, when people sought to entrap him with their words and with their legal and religious riddles, he didn't swear at them or insult them or speak at them with contempt. He didn't lose his temper. He answered them. He critiqued them. He spoke plainly to them. And when storms raged, what did he do? He slept. And then he calmed them with mere words. When he was arrested by soldiers, he stopped people from fighting. He even healed those who were injured, those who had come to take him away. And in his trial, when the priests and the religious authorities clamored for his blood, When the crowds chose a murderer over him, well, he simply waited. He accepted it, and he spoke the truth about it, but he did not resist. You see, this quality of peace, it is not just a statement about the things that he does. It's a statement about his character, a statement about the quality of heart that he has. And so it's no surprise that we don't just see instances of peace in Jesus' life, but peace right throughout everything that he does in his time on earth. And I think we know that to be a powerful thing, that a life lived in peace. It's a profound thing. It's a powerful thing. We have earthly human examples of that in this world as well, right? Like if we put that history hat on, which I like to do, put the history hat on, it reminds us of, say, Mahatma Gandhi, who in pursuit of independence for India popularized what he called non-violent resistance. Non-violent resistance. And that's an idea that took hold of the world's imagination as they thought about social and political change. It's why you get things like students and monks standing calmly in front of tanks. It's why you get protesters giving flowers to gun-wielding soldiers and police. Recently, it's why you get protesters and police marching together in the pursuit of something better. It happens, non-violent resistance, and they become these powerful images, don't they? These images of inspiration for peace. Images which cause people to reevaluate and rethink the normal ways of power and authority and influence in this world. See, peace is a thing that our world craves and knows and abstractly desires in its ideals. It's a thing, but the reality, indeed, is this. It's sad. The whole reason these images and this idea of peace, the whole reason it's provoking is because the world is overwhelmingly not like that. It's not the way that we experience life. Peace is so powerful, but these earthly peacemakers, they have a problem. It's that they're not that effective. They don't really work. Their efforts are so limited and always fall short. They operated on this earthly scale. They made change to an earthly thing, but that's it. And while they did achieve incredible things, it just wasn't enough for the world as a whole. We talked about Gandhi, for example. The modern India began with Gandhi. That's amazing. But India today is not some pacifist utopia. It's not a perfect place, not by any means. Peaceful protests don't often actually lead to change. And the problems are often deeper and too systemic for easy symbolism. And sitting in front of tanks, well, even the immediate outcomes of that kind of actions have not always been so nice or clean. We have examples of peace in this world. Some of them are even great, but they haven't been enough. They've been limited. They've been earthly. And that might lead us to wonder if Jesus suffers the same problem. Are Jesus' efforts for peace also limited? Or is the earth too bad to so easily be fixed? Does he really make a difference? Or does he just teach and say good and amazing things, but ultimately we stay the same? I mean, we know what the answer is going to be, but our experience of life certainly seems to point that way sometimes, doesn't it? It can seem sometimes that even as Christians, even as people who look to Jesus, when we think about our lives, that we're people who are inspired to be better, but so often just falling short. Is that all it is when we call Jesus the Prince of Peace? A little bit of inspiration. Well, let's think about Jesus and what he actually does. He's a peaceful guy, but what does he actually do to bring peace to this world? Whatever you know and think about Jesus, it all boils down and comes down to this, what we see in this passage that we read earlier in Luke 23, that Jesus dies on the cross. He takes the punishment for sin on himself. He dies in our place. Consider the nature of that death, that it's a peaceful death. I mean, it's a crucifixion, which isn't particularly peaceful. It was an execution that was profoundly cruel, came with lots of physical abuse. It's not a peaceful death in the he died in his sleep kind of way of speaking. But see Jesus here, faced with such violence. His response is peace in that he accepts it. Notice verses 39 to 41. Those being executed beside him, even they ask him why. Why do you simply hang there on that cross? Why don't you forcibly save yourself? Jesus doesn't fight back. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't really even condemn or resist those who held him down and tied his feet, pierced his hands, and put that crown of thorns on his head. He had followers who could have fought. He had angels who would have come, but he took up none of these things. You see, Jesus' way of peace was not just about how he lived his life. It's not just a method or a demonstration or an inspiration for how people should be. Peace, Jesus' peace, was also the way in which he would bring peace to the world. It's how he was going to win peace on this earth. It's in that very death he died, his peaceful acceptance of death, which saves us. We can see that in verse 46. Maybe not the most obvious verse, but a powerful one. Jesus called out with a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." And when he said this, he breathed his last. This is the moment of Jesus' death. And in that moment, in his death, this one thing that he truly came to do, we see what he acknowledges. And what does he acknowledge? His Father in heaven. He acknowledges God. He submits himself to him. He gives over his life to whatever is to happen with it. It's an act of peace, this humbling of self. He does not agitate or fight for what ought to be his. He does not demand in this moment to be elevated or recognized. He doesn't say that I should be there in heaven, I've done nothing wrong. No, he says simply into God's hands does he commit himself. It's reminiscent of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. Father, take this cup away from me, but not my will, but yours. Jesus wasn't just peaceful in and for himself. No, he goes peacefully so that peace can be given to us too. The Father had a plan, God had a plan that we would be saved in his death. And the peace of Jesus is that he submits to it, that he humbles himself to do it, that he willingly takes that step forward. And when he does that, we see that he takes our place, that he sacrifices himself and he pays our debt so that we don't have to. Have you ever thought about those two guys being crucified next to Jesus? How they exemplify to us two ways to live. One asks Jesus why he doesn't fight, why he doesn't save himself. The other one honors Jesus and submits his life to him. See, Jesus says that he is giving his life for us, that he is dying for those who put their trust in him. And he could not do it if he was not the Prince of Peace. If he sought to fight or to resist or to take power for himself, he would not have saved. Jesus takes our place. And it's not because we're deserving, it's simply because he is willing. His peaceful acceptance of the punishment for sin means we escape it. And so he is the Prince of Peace because salvation comes to us in his submission to his Father's will. Jesus is the Prince of Peace. It's the nature of his person, and it's the way of his salvation. But there's another thing, a third thing. Peace is also the world that he is making. In Jesus, the hope that we have, the world that we're waiting for, is not like this one. It's a place where we live with our King in perfect peace and harmony. In verse 43, Jesus turns to the man dying beside him, the one who honored him, and he gave respect to him, and he says this, "Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." Paradise. What is paradise? It's not, I don't know what you picture here, but it's not like some sunny place with blue skies and perfect beaches where you sitting, reclining on a chair with an umbrella and like a drink with an umbrella in it as well. It's not something so small that you can find it if you travel. It's not just a place with fun things and delicious food or good company and relaxation. That's not what paradise is. Paradise is deeper. Paradise is bigger. It's better. And we have that classic image, don't we, of paradise, of the new creation in Revelation 21. A place where we will never cry in pain, never cry in grief, never cry in sadness or in desperation or helplessness or fear, where there's nothing to lament or worry about, nothing to sigh at or shake our heads at, nothing ever to roll our eyes at ever again. Paradise is a place where there's nothing to medicate. There's nothing to vaccinate. There's no need for therapy or surgery or any other remedy. It's true peace. With everything and with everyone, and indeed peace even with ourselves. Paradise. That's a big thing that Jesus offers and gives. Tomorrow you will be with me in paradise, he says. So this way of life that we know with little true or lasting peace will be made old. It will be superseded. It will be cast off, chucked in the bin, because Jesus had made something better, something new. So the kingdom over which he will rule is peace as well. Jesus is the Prince of Peace. It's the nature of his person, the way of his salvation, and it's the world that he's making, the world that he's the king over. Today is Christmas Day, and we're celebrating the Prince of Peace. And I don't know if you've ever thought of it this way, but the story of Jesus' coming is full of that peace as well. He comes as a baby, soft and gentle, small and vulnerable, in the quiet of night, in a humble little town, lying in a manger. Here is the one who knows and reveals and possesses truth within himself. He's the wonderful counselor. Here is the one who holds all power and authority in his hands, who's able to truly fix the world and fix our lives, or break the world and destroy our lives. He's the mighty king. Here is the one who made everything, whom we've rejected, but who loves us so dearly and tenderly that he's always ready to receive us again, always waiting for us to come back, the everlasting Father. He is all those things in glory and grandeur. They're enormous statements of who he is, of his greatness, his magnitude. And we should recognize that he's far above us. We're not even close to being in his league. And yet he comes, and he comes in peace. He humbles himself and enters this world. Though God, he is born as a human, and this is the great news of it all for us. He's not here to crush and burn or pillage this contemptuous and rebellious territory of his. He's not here to destroy his enemies. No, he's here to save this world and to save us. He comes in peace. to live and embody peace, and all in order to give us peace. He's the Prince of Peace. And that means that he must be our peace as well. Where we go to find and have peace in our lives. We do all sorts of things in pursuit of peace. We work hard to get peace, right? To gain financial security, to have a comfortable lifestyle. That's a desire for peace in our lives. We take time off, we go on holidays, we take it easy on weekends, we have leisure time, right? We go out and we do fun things, take up hobbies and interests. These are things of respite. They're efforts for peace, in and against work and toil and the frustrations of life. We buy noise-cancelling headphones. We turn up the volume on our music. We shut the door to our rooms. We go for walks and we go for drives. Why? I just want to be alone. We're desperately searching for peace, for solitude, for quiet against noisy and chaotic life. We run away and we avoid our problems. We refuse to have hard conversations. When we plan, we stress and agonize, and we do everything we can to address every possibility that we can think of, every potential mishap. It's so restless, right, trying to do it, but it's a pursuit of peace, even though it so often leads to even more unrest. We're trying to make things smooth and easy. Peace. We try really hard to get peace in our lives, every single one of us, but it's a never-ending pursuit. It's something we cannot do. Nothing we do can satisfy that need. We need someone bigger, someone better at it. Someone, perhaps, the Prince of Peace. We need Jesus. And the gospel is this, that peace comes from what he has done. Powerful and effective, yet peaceful work that he does on the cross. Jesus on that cross as he dies, it's not in Luke, it's in the Gospel of John. He says, "It is finished." It's finished. It's done. There's nothing else. There's no more to do. It's not short-lived or temporary. It's not bound to some cycle that comes from a calendar that's annual or otherwise. It's not like our end of year or our graduation or our leave or our holidays, those momentary bits of peace that inevitably finish and give way to normal and frustrating life, work and toil. Now, the peace of the Prince of Peace is better. It's permanent, it lasts forever, and it's finished. It's completed and achieved and all sorted out for us. Today on Christmas Day, let's give thanks to Jesus for being the Prince of Peace, for coming in peace, for living and serving peacefully, and for bringing peace to us. There's a couple ways that we should do that. The first way is this: we should do it by believing in him, by putting our trust in him, by making him the one that we go to for peace in our lives. Don't try to get peace through the things of this world or the things that you do to build your life. It doesn't work. Acknowledge him as your Saviour, the one who died a death that you deserve, and gain the peace of forgiveness and the peace of a better and perfect future. Celebrate Christmas by trusting Jesus to bring us the peace that we desire. And do it by following him and his way. Not just by believing in him, but by obeying him as well. We honour Jesus as the Prince of Peace when we make peace a priority for how we live our lives too. By being agents of peace, as it were, by showing others, well, first the peace that comes in Jesus, sharing our faith in him, but actually also by being people who are peaceful. By actively promoting harmony, refusing to be people who agitate and argue. It is something this world sorely needs, and one way in which we live as witnesses. We live as witnesses, people who have seen something that this world has not. Particularly if you call yourself a Christian, can I encourage you today to be a peacemaker in your life? Ask yourself this: where can you diffuse Where can you stabilize and bring civility in? But also, and perhaps even harder, where can you lay down your life? Lay down your rights. As hard as that might be, where can you lay yourself down so that peace might be known for others? The talk this past week or two has all been about what a COVID Christmas is going to be like. Certainly the weight of that is really heavy as we consider the death toll and the impact of COVID in so many countries around the world. But even here, there's been this thing looming over us, hasn't it? Will borders be shut? Is Christmas cancelled? Are we able to have church? The plain-faced kind of optimism that we kind of had 3 weeks ago, it just sort of disappeared in the space of days. And everyone's become anxious again. Can we still celebrate in and amongst this mess? Is there still a peace to be found when life is so peaceless? In a lot of ways, there has been little peace to our lives of late. 2020 has been oddly quiet, but not peaceful. It's all just been too up in the air for us to feel that safety and security that comes with peace. If Christmas to you is just a public holiday, if all it is part of the end of year celebration, if it's family time or leisure time or presents time, if it's just summertime or beach time, or turkey, ham, roast pork, insert your festive meat time. If that's all it is to you, if it's just part of the calendar, then it doesn't matter why or how you celebrate Christmas. It can be cancelled, and it will lack the peace so often that it's supposed to carry. But this is why the Christian hope is better, why the Christian Christmas is better. The celebration of Jesus coming to us in peace, with peace, for peace, that celebration can never be taken away. It cannot be cancelled because it's already been done. It will never cease to be a truth that the Prince of Peace has finished his work. And if we go to him, we have it. Peace. It's the nature of Jesus' person. It's the way of his salvation, and it's the world that he is making. He's the Prince of Peace, and he's come. He's here with us. And so the one thing that we all need to do this Christmas time is to go to him for peace. I don't know what it is that is making you lack peace in your life. Would you give it over to him? Would you recognize that nothing you can do can satisfy or fulfill all the things that you want or are looking for? There is no salvation in works. It is only in the peace that Jesus wins when he dies for us on that cross. Jesus came to do it. We celebrate Jesus because of this truth. And the good news is that we can always celebrate it. It is done and it is finished, and nothing will take that away. Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we want to give you praise and thanks that you are a God and a King who has a will and a way, that everything in this world is held in your hands, from beginning to the end. Everything. Things of ages and eons and generations, things of nations and states, families, friends, things of individuals. All things are in your hands. And indeed, so was your plan for this whole world, from beginning to eternity. This plan of the gospel, of Jesus who would come and save. I want to give thanks and praise to you, Lord Jesus, that you are the Prince of Peace, that you lived a life of peace, that you saved us in this one single only way, peacefully, and that in you we can look forwards to peace in the world that you are making. Lord, help us to have that peace in and amongst our insecurities and frustrations, our hardships and toils, in our anxiety and our worry over so many different things. Give us peace. Teach us to trust you, to put our lives in your hands, to rely not on ourselves or other people or things in this world, but on this truth that you have done it, that it is finished. Would you help us this Christmas, Lord, to see that gospel truth, that you have done it, you have died for us? Would it loom large in our views and give us the peace that we are looking for and hoping for? And indeed, as we celebrate Christmas with our family and friends over meals and presents and activities and all sorts of other things, would you teach us to give thanks for the good in our life, the blessing and the kindnesses that you have shown us, that we can enjoy these times with one another. Would you help us all, not just to look to you for peace, but then also to stand for peace in our relationships, with our friends, at work, in all those little places where we are tempted to agitate and to fight. Lord, help us to be witnesses to what you have done and the peace of your life in word and in action. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Jesus is our Prince of Peace, and we can come to him without cost. So please stand as we sing of this truth together.
Calling all sinners sinners to come to the cross.
Please keep standing as we sing. Keep standing.
Sing glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy mild, God and sinners reconciled. Joyful all ye nations rise, join the triumph of the skies. Angelic hosts proclaim, Christ is born in Bethlehem. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Christ fly high as heaven door, Christ the everlasting Lord. Late in time, behold him come, offspring of a virgin's womb. Veiled flesh the Godhead see, and incarnate deity. Please as men with men to drown, Jesus our Emmanuel. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Hail the head-born Prince of Peace, hail the Son of Righteousness. Light and life to all he brings, wings with healing in his wings. Now he lays his glory by, born that men no more may die. Born to raise the sons of earth, born to give them second birth. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King.
Please take a seat.
Thank you, band. Just a couple of announcements for us all today. Firstly, apologies for all the tech issues that we've had this morning. Apologies, Simon, for interrupting your talk. Thanks for your patience here and those watching on the live stream. But in particular, I just want to say thank you to all the sound and AV people throughout the year who have worked tirelessly to bring the live stream each Sunday. So wherever you are, give them a round of applause right now. They have worked really hard. So again, apologies, but if you bump into a sound and AV guy, make sure you say thank you for their service. The second announcement is every Christmas we have a special offering, and this year it is to support Alliance churches that are in the Asia Pacific. It is to support Asia Pacific Alliance churches, their COVID relief projects. I know that the news is basically about England and in America. Rarely do we hear about what's happening in the Pacific. Well, they too are struggling with COVID. So if you would like to support them, it'd be great to support them, our brothers and sisters in the Pacific. If you would like to give, mark your offering as CMA Xmas Appeal. CMA Xmas Appeal. So that when we look at that offering, we know it is for our brothers and sisters in the Asia Pacific. So it'd be great if we could support them at this time of the year during this season. Finally, just finishing up, I guess all the tech issues that we've experienced, again, just another reminder of 2020, isn't it? You know, scrambling, stressing, trying to figure out what's wrong. And really all we're wanting is just 5 seconds. Just 5 seconds where everything goes right. We're just searching for that 5 seconds of peace. Well, as we've been reminded today, Jesus has been born into this world. He is wonderful counselor, mighty God, everlasting Father, and he is the Prince of Peace. My brothers and sisters, have a very Merry Christmas, remembering the birth of the Prince of Peace. Thanks for joining us.